Have you ever wondered why two people can hear the same story and walk away believing they heard two entirely different things? That's not just coincidence. It's the cognitive bias at work, a well-studied concept in psychology. Picture your mind like a radio tuned to certain stations. Anything that doesn't match your expectations comes through as static or is filtered out entirely. Now, you might think, isn't it just laziness? But it's more than that. Hidden assumptions, or what psychologists call preconceived schemas, shape what gets through our mental gatekeepers. Take Lucy, a dedicated teacher who felt utterly dismissed when forced to move her class to a basement. Her emotional reaction primed her ears to pick up on disrespect and miss any practical intent. Let me tell you a story. When Lucy called her sister Katrine, craving support, Katrine instead focused on Lucy's role in the conflict. Both sisters heard only what confirmed their assumptions about each other. That's the listening filter ever present, subtly powerful. So, next time you're listening, ask yourself, what am I expecting to hear? What might I be missing? Recognizing this mental filter is the first step towards more honest, present communication. It's not just about hearing words. It's about challenging your default settings and daring to tune in with fresh ears. Listening takes effort, but what happens when that effort gets hijacked by bias? Here's where confirmation bias and defensive listening come into play. Two technical terms that boil down to hearing what fits and blocking out the rest. Think about it. Have you ever nodded politely through a colleague's presentation, only to realize later you absorbed almost nothing? Maybe you didn't respect their expertise, or maybe you were defending your own point of view. We all do it. Now you might be thinking, I can't help my first impressions. And that's true. But you can choose to challenge them by deliberately focusing what psychologists call active listening. You can cut through your own prejudices. Imagine if, next time you felt yourself checking out, you asked, what am I defending against right now? Why am I resisting hearing this? That self-awareness is your lever for change. Remember, every conversation is a chance to practice unbiased listening. It's a muscle you can strengthen if you're willing to wrestle with your assumptions. Let's talk about credibility, a term we often hear in leadership seminars, but rarely connect to listening. Credibility is basically the trustworthiness and authority we assign to a speaker. Without it, even the wisest advice falls flat. Think about those calls you dread from a certain relative who always needs something. The moment you pick up, your enthusiasm dips. Why? Because past experiences, or what communication theorists call source credibility, have trained you not to listen closely. Now, you might say, shouldn't I give everyone a fair shot? Yes, ideally, but our brains are economical. We tune out those we perceive as out of touch, self-involved, or lacking authority. Let me ask you, how can you boost your own credibility when you need to be heard? Try being clear, pertinent, and present. And if you're the listener, challenge your reflex to dismiss. Sometimes, a single moment of real attention can repair a threadbare relationship. In the end, credibility is built on consistent action. Listen generously, it pays dividends in trust and understanding. Here's a common scene. A friend launches into the same story or complaint yet again. You want to care, but your attention quietly slips away. This is the repetition effect at work, a cognitive principle where repeated exposure dulls our response. Maybe you've heard the phrase compassion fatigue. It applies here. Our neural circuits become desensitized to recurring messages, even if they're important. Brain imaging studies show that novelty grabs our attention. Sameness numbs us. Now, You might say, but what if my friend really needs to vent? Of course, but ask yourself, is your withdrawal about their message or your own boundaries? Sometimes it's both. Let me suggest this. Instead of fake, listening, or snapping, kindly name the pattern. Try. I notice we talk a lot about this. Should we try brainstorming solutions together? Recognizing the repetition effect frees you to handle recurring issues with empathy and honesty instead of silent disengagement. Why do some conversations push our buttons more than others? Enter object relations theory, a mouthful, but it's just about how our past experiences with key people create mental blueprints. It's as if every current interaction is shadowed by echoes of what came before. If you grew up with criticism, you might hear feedback as an attack, no matter how kindly it's delivered. These are emotional triggers, preset tripwires from our history. Now you might be thinking, is it possible to ever escape these patterns? The answer, with effort and awareness, yes. First, notice when you're reacting more to the past than the present. Let me tell you about Alice, who felt constantly put upon. She realized helping others made her feel valued because as a child, she was rewarded for being the good daughter. Recognizing this pattern allowed her to set healthier boundaries. The past is alive in our responses, but by shining a light on these invisible scripts, we reclaim the power to listen and live more freely. Has a visit home ever made you feel like a teenager again? That's not regression. It's imprinting when early family dynamics, what psychologists call attachment styles, get reactivated by familiar cues. Consider Peggy, whose mother's constant criticism triggered old anxieties. Despite her adult status, Peggy found herself reverting to her adolescent self, caught in a loop of anger and withdrawal. It's not childishness, it's learned reactivity. Now, you might protest, but aren't I grown up? Why can't I control these feelings? The answer is neural wiring and emotional memory. We unconsciously slip into old roles when faced with our parents' familiar provocations. Let me suggest, the next time you feel yourself shrinking or exploding in a family setting, pause and name the pattern. Instead of fighting it, acknowledge its roots. That's the first step to adult communication. Emotional freedom isn't about never feeling triggered. It's about recognizing when you are and choosing your next move with intention. Ever notice how quickly calm adults become fiery teenagers around their parents? Psychologists call this regression, and it's powered by what's known as emotional time travel. Our brains revisit old wounds as if they're happening now. Think of Superman. Only kryptonite robs him of his powers. For many of us, family is our kryptonite, reducing us to old, powerless versions of ourselves in seconds. Now you might ask, can I ever really change how I react with family? Yes, but it takes breaking the freeze. Start by identifying the triggers, then experiment with new responses. Speak calmly, set boundaries, or simply walk away when things get heated. Let me share. Most of us left home before we finished growing up emotionally. By returning as adults and reworking these patterns, we can thaw the adolescent freeze and claim our full maturity. Growth means facing the kryptonite and remembering you have more power now than you did then. Have you ever caught yourself tuning out a loved one, only to realize it's not really you ignoring them, but a part of you? Welcome to the concept of subpersonalities, drawn from internal family systems theory. Think of your psyche as a congress of inner voices, each with its own agenda. Let's say your partner asks for more attention. One part of you feels like a scolded child, instantly defensive. Another part feels guilty and wants to do better. Now you might wonder, how do I listen through the noise? By noticing which part is in charge and gently reassuring it. Tell your inner child, This isn't a threat, it's an invitation. Let me offer this tool. Next time you're triggered, try to identify the part inside you that feels under attack. Acknowledge its fears, you'll find you're freer to hear the person in front of you. The best listeners aren't those without baggage. They're the ones who know how to manage their internal crowd. Ever been stuck in an internal debate, work, or play? Say yes or no. Cognitive psychologists call this internal conflict. And in the internal family systems model, it's a battle between sub-personalities, like Richard, who can't relax on vacation unless he first appeases his inner taskmaster by getting some work done. His wife knows to reassure the worker part so the playful part can emerge. Now, you might think, isn't this just overthinking? Perhaps, but these debates reveal deep, persistent values and fears. Noticing which part is winning and why can help you negotiate more peace between them. Try this. The next time you're torn, name the competing voices. What do they want? How can you give each part some airtime instead of letting one dominate and leave you frustrated? Clarity comes not from silencing your parts, but from respecting each voice and finding a healthy compromise. How often do we give advice that goes unheard? Or ask for input we already know we'll ignore? This is the advice paradox, tied to what psychologists call vertical splitting, simultaneous awareness of conflicting impulses. Imagine a teenager who hears, "Don't smoke." Their rebellious part bristles, while their dutiful part nods. The advice rarely lands because it only addresses the surface, not the tug of war beneath. Now, you might ask, so should I just not give advice? Instead, try curiosity. Ask how a behavior feels, what it accomplishes. Neutral questions invite reflection, while predictable advice triggers resistance. Let me challenge you. Next time someone seeks your counsel, pause. Listen for what's not being said, what inner voices are at play. By listening beyond the obvious, you become a mirror for self-discovery, not just a dispenser of solutions. Picture a family argument. Father yells, son rebels, mother intervenes. It's easy to assign blame. But what if you saw it as a clash of sub-personalities, each person ruled by a different inner part? In psychology, this is parts dynamics, where a rebellious part in the son activates a controlling part in the father, which then triggers a protective part in the mother. Instead of 3 people, it's a dance of 6 or more voices. You might think, isn't that overcomplicating things? But recognizing these parts can make you less reactive. If you see your family's anger as a part, not their whole self, it's easier to respond with patience. Let me invite you to experiment. The next time conflict arises, ask yourself, which part of them am I talking to? Which part of me is answering? Empathy grows when you realize we're all more than our worst moments, and so are those we love. At the heart of listening is the art of releasing emotional constraints, those knee-jerk reactions of criticism, fear, or hurt that cloud our hearing. In psychodynamic terms, these are automatic emotional responses, patterns built for survival, not connection. Instead of condemning yourself as a bad listener, try identifying the part of you that's struggling. Is it the anxious part, the angry part, or the wounded part? Now, you might wonder, will this really make a difference? Absolutely. When you name and relax your reactive parts, you access deeper qualities: curiosity, compassion, tenderness. Let me offer a practice. Before your next difficult conversation, pause to ask, what part of me is most likely to get in the way? How can I reassure it? The reward is greater than just better listening. It's true connection, forged in self-awareness and emotional courage. If you're ready to transform your listening, let's get practical. Here are a few neuroscience-backed exercises, inspired by the reflective questions at the end of our exploration. First, pick 3 people you see regularly. Write down what you expect them to say and how you usually respond. Next time you talk, consciously set aside those predictions. Ask a deeper question. Notice how the conversation shifts. Second, reflect on your parents. What did they do that made you feel unheard? How does that shape your current conversations? This is real-time pattern recognition, what neuroscientists call metacognition, and it's a game changer. Lastly, identify your defensive parts in daily interactions. When you feel yourself tuning out or bristling, name the feeling. Is it irritation, fear, boredom? Growth is built from small experiments. Each time you bring curiosity to your own listening habits, you create space for understanding and transformation.